Excellent.
All right, another day of Franklin and James Discuss on Easter Sunday, 2022. So what are we talking about today?
Well, I don't know, just in between, we talked early this morning, confirming this broadcast. My son Adam called.
All right.
And interestingly, we talked about a lot of things. He and I usually talk about kind of along the lines, a lot of stuff you and I talk about relationships, especially he and I, and the difference between his perspective on the world and my perspective on the essence or the value in the knowledge that we have, where we are at the stage in our life. And one can get an understanding or perspective at a certain point in their life, let's say it's a teenager, but that same piece of wisdom or understanding, from my perspective, being an older person than you and he, and is different as you age, although more clarity comes with that understanding. I was thinking about you, and I was telling him that you and I are going to talk today, and because he asked what we talk about, I said, you and I talk pretty much the same stuff that he and I talk about. But we got around to communities and how we have a lot of history that's passed down from one generation to the other in certain communities. Some communities, basically, kids grow up and, for all intents and purposes, only piece of wisdom or insight or lifetime behavior is more or less seen and not taught by the people around them, the community around them, their homes and stuff. It's sad. We talk about this Easter Sunday, and a lot of time Easter, like a lot of holidays like Christmas and Thanksgiving, families get together and they have a meal. Right. And I would think that if someone took a survey in the United States of America, that there are a lot of homes where people have never, ever sat around a table and had a meal as a family. And they can be very well off. And for whatever reason, everyone has their own life, and they're going and coming, their schedules. And so to set aside a time when people specifically sit down and eat or have a meal. I remember reading somewhere back in many, many years ago about the Kennedys. And if I'm not mistaken, every single day they had to dress up for their separate dinner meal every evening, and come to the table. And one of the requirements that they've had to have read the newspaper, some paper, and they have to contribute their perspective on the current news. And you and I kind of filters into our conversation because we both of us are still we are awoke. I'm still trying to understand this woke thing. You and I talk about it. I would like to think that we can get to a place where we are woke.
Where we're self-aware and aware of our surroundings in present time, right? That's what I try to think of woke as.
Yeah, at the present time. And you're saying it, but when you think of woke, when I think of woke, it's like you've already arrived. And I think this journey we call this life that we live in is a journey. And so we're always in a process of awakening. You're awake. It's like, even when you see the blooming of a flower or something, it has stages. And when it gets totally in bloom, then it dies. So I'm not sure I want to be awoke, or I want to be always in the mindset of awakening, being in tune and being able to see the freshness of a brand new day. I'm not really sure if I ever, and I'm still dealing with that. Waking up again, my new saying that you've kind of embraced, you've kind of like, you wake up, get up, do something.
Right.
And so when you wake up, when you become woke, then we become responsible for who we are.
Yeah.
And as you've heard me say several times, I'm probably more alive today at 74 than I've been in my entire life.
Right.
I mean, for many, many years, I look back over my life, again, hindsight's 2020. I was asleep, bro. I got time periods in my life that when I look back, I'm not really sure how I got to where I am now. Thank God I am here. I'm
Right.
not in the graveyard. I'm not in prison. I'm not on some corner begging for a meal or for some money for an addiction I have. Um, so I think this journey called life, this life
Yeah.
called journey, is a never ending process. And I think
Yeah.
when you get to woke, you're on the other side.
Well, yeah, I like that. Yeah. Well, there, yeah, we had a high school teacher who told us that he was very into meditation and yoga, and he decided that totally enlightened, you discorporate, right? You cease to exist in this plane. So same kind of thing, right? You're on the other side.
Yes. Yeah, because
So
I think the real wisdom behind it, and what you just said, I like the way he said that. I think the real wisdom lies not so much in this place, in a physical place where we exist, as opposed to the spiritual realm where all things exist. You know, I refer to myself as being a child of the universe. Yesterday, thinking after we had a conversation yesterday, in the evening, I find most of my evenings now I go on the front porch. I just meditate and watch the sunset. Thank God my front porch is facing the west, where I mean, I see the sunset. I mean, I love it.
right.
And
Yep. Yeah.
but I'm in a spiritual place that and it's just a really, really good, great place to be. When I have that time, I'm there. I live in the country, so you hear the birds, you hear some traffic in the background, but
Yeah.
just being there, not being Frank Terrell the man, or being Frank Terrell the African American, or being Frank Terrell the Marine or American, just
Right.
being a being, just being alive in that moment. And when I think when I can get out of all those labels and just be a child of the universe and listen in that place, those are
I
places that
like
I
that.
have visited all of my life. Even because
Yeah.
I've never fit in anywhere to the extent that I think that I always thought that people need to fit in. I've never felt like I belong. At the same time,
Mm,
I've been okay with who I am. I mean, although
right.
I've been trying to get to know me, but I'm only beginning to know me now
Right.
in the last couple of years. And wow, it blows my mind. Yes, I have chapters that I wish weren't there, but I've learned through them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just so thankful that I'm a better me today than I was yesterday.
All right.
So that's what we're going to talk about. The easiest thing to talk about. We all love to talk about ourselves. So that's what I'm talking
Well,
about.
so on that issue, so there was I saw a little thing on Facebook yesterday talking about, let me just bring it up. How dare you not be outraged and afraid? One person to say another. And the other person saying, actually, my inner peace is not dependent on external circumstances. In fact, by caring for myself, I'm caring for the world. External trauma can't be healed until we heal the trauma
Mm,
within ourselves. And that's when people talk about woke here in Santa Fe, they're talking about, are you outraged at the climate? Are you outraged at racism? Are you outraged at sexism? Are you outraged at patriarchy? And it's like, and if you're not, then you're immoral. And I love the idea of how do you stay balanced in yourself and work towards a better world. And uh, there's this very irritating fellow, Jordan Peterson, and he's very much about the status quo, and we need all these old rituals to keep people from being violent. But something he said rings true for me of, if you destabilize your own emotions, and in psychology, it's dysregulate, right? So if you're out of control with rage and you think that's the way to react to the world, you're going to have problems. And he was talking about the woke thing. He's saying what the woke thing does for him is it makes me right and you wrong, and separates us. And that's his problem with it. So that's another thing, right? So if we're children of the universe, we don't have that desire to make people others, so then we can harm them or take their jobs or whatever we want to do, right?
and we don't have the energy when we're focusing on our mission. We don't
Yeah.
have the energy to sit back and critique you or someone else, our neighbors, because I
Right.
feel that my job since I've landed on this planet at this point in the evolution of the universe, my
Yeah.
job is be Frank Terrell,
Yeah.
and that's a 24/7 job. And um, I guess probably with this new revelation in who I am, I can't be upset that I didn't notice when I was 6 or 12 or 24 or even 30.
Right.
But I'm glad I'm learning it now. And even although consciously I'm thinking about it now, in my subconscious, the desire to want to get from one situation or from one place to the other to continue to move ahead, to get up out of bed and when wake up in the morning time to put food on the table and do my part in that. Just a desire and accepting that has been, from what I'm understanding now, has contributed massively in my life. Can let me see if you see something. I just looked over at something I have. I'm not sure if you can you see that?
Yep. There's Frank with the backpack with the rocks in it.
Yes.
That's an inside joke.
Oh man, yes. I just looked like I've got it next to my. It's one of my favorite pictures. So you and I both know where that was. I was on our little trip down to the Havasu Falls.
Right.
Yeah. Man, we've had a lot of good times, honey.
Yeah.
It's just it's kind of mind blowing to me, man, when I think about you and I being here right now in this moment. And you can't help but look at the foundation that has built us. We see what we see, and with all that we see, there is elements that we would probably possibly never really understand at this point. Maybe later on today, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, maybe 20 years from now.
Yeah.
But I think when we are preoccupied with our own survival, and in that survival, in that journey, we have the experience, we're in tune to the experience that we have. And some of those experiences last, like I said, here we are almost 40 years later, some 30-some years later, and we still are mutually respectful of one another.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I say that because a lot of people talk about love. Love is, I think, is a word that is used sometimes too freely. It's easy to say, I love you, or but true love is a thing that is only, I think, only exists through time. So many people we know go into relationships, unions, marriages, and so forth, being in love, and 6 months, 7 months down the road, a year or two,
Oh yeah.
they don't long. I mean, if you really ever get to that place, now Nikki Giovanni, I think I've quoted her before. She says the only problem with love is that people tend to react to love when they find themselves in a situation that they feel as though they should be reacting on. And I've learned that early on. That was like the 70s when I first read that, and it made sense to me because people date after you date 1 or 2 times, you've been out, and so one of the other two parties, oh, I'm in love. Is that truly love?
Well,
mm-hmm.
I think the kind of love you're talking about, a lot of people mistake lust for love, and they're not the same.
No.
And the Greeks have 7 words for love. I don't remember them right off the bat, but they have different types of affection or caring. And we kind of have the same. We don't think of it as well. Caring, affection, respect, admiration, just delight of that thing being in the universe with you. And then there's hungry love. A rabbi has a talk about these people come and say, we love fish. And he's like, well, what are you doing? Well, we kill it and eat it. He's like, I don't think that's love. That's hunger.
Yeah.
And I love that man, or I love that woman. And it's, or whoever you're lusting after. And that's wokeness right now. You can lust after anybody without being legally punished. But we think that desire to have sex is the same as loving somebody in a way that's going to create a long lasting relationship. And generally, it's not. So, yeah. So the love you're talking about, what are the 2 kinds? That family love where you're with somebody as a partner for life. And then I presume the parental child love, or.
Yeah. And it's
child,
and we
parent,
have to
parent, child.
identify with those loves. I mean, those loves become apparent to me, um, out of first of all our relationship to that which we associate our love to, like I said, with parents, a parental, or companion, and even with friends like you and I.
Yeah,
Um, it's and I think we need to, when we truly only through time can we really able to color that particular relationship in whatever color or what's the word I want to use here? Or what the real meaning of that relationship is.
right.
And uh, talking to my son, man, Adam will be 40 his next birthday, and man, I love that guy. And he was telling me today that he had invited a friend he hadn't seen in years out to supper yesterday. I think it was yesterday. It might have been just yesterday. And so she shows up with her mom, which was cool. I mean, this, and a part of the conversation, he had stated about his relationship with his dad. And the mom said, "And you and your dad are like still friends?" And then he Adam's almost 40 years old. He said, "Oh yeah, we've always had a great relationship." And the woman was in shock. And
Wow.
even like with you and your dad, I mean, your real relationship with love was with your mom. And your
Yep.
dad, for whatever reason, wasn't there in that capacity. I've always, like I diverse if anyone knows me on this planet that doesn't know my wife. And for long relationship, do not know about Adam. So before my wife, because Adam was from the first marriage, Adam has been in my life for almost 40 years. Almost as long as you have been.
Wow.
And whereas Madeline's been just a little over 25 years, but the people in my life, I'm very protective, Jaime, of my friends and associates. I go back to a friend of yours that I met a year ago. We need not call any names. Who you and that person came to a parting of relationships, and you and I have discussed that. And this person, we discussed it somewhat, but I made it real clear to that person there's absolutely positively nothing that that person could bring to me that would change how I see you.
Right.
And that's the kind of person, a friend that I've always wanted to be. Our friendship is based on our interaction and interrelationship. If for
Yeah.
some reason you wake up this evening tomorrow and you decide to be a mass murderer, I won't know where that came from, but I will know what I will still be your friend.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and I'm going to always base our friendship on our relationship. I never get when, and I've referenced it several times, how your mother was kind of surprised when I returned the truck to you that you had basically made available for me when I first came to Santa Fe and was homeless and was trying to do work, and you made a truck available to me. I completed my obligation to that truck. When I was ready to leave Santa Fe, the truck was still in great shape. I returned it to you, and your mom like, wow, she couldn't believe I did that. But
Right.
I think life is that way, Ham. We've got to acknowledge the, like any other way, the horse that brought us through, that boat that carried us across the water, that bridged in our life, the friendships
Right.
that supported us. And it doesn't always have to be in physical stuff. Sometimes I like the old saying, a wink is just as good as a nod. We need to at least identify with those vessels that were able to carry us through. For me, here it is, get back to Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
My relationship with Christianity and Jesus Christ, man, is like mind blowing to me to even think of it, of all the concepts that I've ever studied in my life. The Holy Bible gives me everything that I need in this flesh here in this world. It also gives me the the encouragement and the door, the portal into the spiritual world.
Right.
And most Christians don't realize that because it's practice Christianity is done in spirit and in truth. The average preacher doesn't know that. They talk about it. When we get out of this flesh and we really get into the essence of the soul of who we are and who our people come in, we see life differently. So I've
Yeah.
kind of going off one of my things, but it's just, I'm just so, I mean, I sit here on this Easter Sunday and think about the greatness of my life. I think about where I've been, and you've heard me say that in certain elements I would think I'd be considered functionally literate. But I laugh at that because I'm really a smart guy. I'm a
Yeah.
very intelligent guy. And I know people with PhDs and master's degrees that will be in a burning house and the back door is just unlocked, but they came in the front door, the building's on fire, and they don't have enough sense to get to the back door.
Right. Yeah.
You know, they get caught, they burn up. And so we have to see our life for what it is and where we are. Christianity has been a great um, uh, 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 part of my life. The reading of the prophets and these things. So the historic. I mean, most of everything that you can read in the Bible, in some way, can be validated through history. And so, to whatever extent that is, and it's a great vehicle. And for me, Christianity is the way. I don't diminish the Jewish religion or any other religion or any other spiritual concept, shall I say. I'm sitting here looking at several elements in front of me here now. It's based in the spiritual world. The place you live in, Santa Fe, is like a great place for new age thing or spiritual thinking, shall I say. I don't like to classify it. I think when we stop and get out of ourself and we just let the universe be, it's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times we lose a lot of what is meant for us, being sidetracked or being distracted about stuff that we have no control over.
Yeah.
And again, when I've learned through my experience, when I've allowed the universe to support me, to guide me, and I get out of the way, most of my success I can sincerely contribute to, not from what I've done, as being open to what the universe has for me, and to be able to accept, to be able to receive my blessings. And my friend, you've become one of them. And I really respect and value our relationship. I hear your cat back and said, "What about me?"
Yep. Sibling rivalry. Yeah.
It's interesting. I'm not a cat person, but I think about how even through history, how the Egyptians how cats factor into their spiritual life.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever it is, I still believe, Hamid, we as beings have access to all the power of all the universe, and it's all inside of us. And most of the we at certain points in our life we do access that, but we learn how we unlearn it. We unlearn it. We learn it and we unlearn it. I was thinking yesterday how my mother said my dreams were too big. I remember when I was a young person, I dreamed of chauffeured Rolls Royce and Lear jets on 100 acres. Now I realize I don't need a Rolls Royce. I don't need 100 acres. I don't need a Lear jet. But I allowed my mom at one point to tell me my dreams were too big. And I start second guessing myself.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because they're trying to protect us from disappointment. I hear that all the time. People say, "Oh," and it's like, as my boy told me, "Yeah, what would you say if I was going to be a wide receiver in the NFL?" And I was like, "Go for it." We were talking about it. I said, even if you don't make it, if you go for that goal, all those work habits you learn with the confidence that'll give you the skill to do other things. And he's like, "Oh yeah, shoot for the stars, get to the moon." Yeah. I'm like, yeah. So we do can't really be cut short when we're told, "Oh, your dreams are too big. You know, get a job at the hardware store." That's what I've heard from some parents. You know,
we were talking about David, right?
Right. Say again.
Dave. Yeah, and it's really that simple, Hamid, because it's like shooting an arrow from a bow and arrow. You point towards your target. Even a person who's probably the most skilled, what do they call archer? That's the name, archer. Didn't start out there,
right?
And practice. Now where he probably hits 9 out of 10 bullseyes, 10 out of 10. He didn't always do that.
Well, that's true too. Yeah.
So, but that didn't stop him from stepping up to the plate and
trying again. Well, I try to tell people when they're learning something new, think about how did you learn to walk? No, I didn't learn to walk. Yes, you did.
a journey of
And
a
it was
thousand miles.
frustrating, man.
A
It
journey
took
of
a year.
a journey of a
Most
thousand
people-
miles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Give it a single
Once you
step.
realize
Yeah,
that humans walk, it takes 6 months to a year to learn how to walk.
yeah, yeah.
So, but you kept doing it. And it's funny because people always say you don't learn from success. And I always wonder why they say that part. You're always learning. So,
You
you
learn
know,
from
it's just
failures
like
too.
this binary problem we have with our mind. Either college is great or it's horrible. And it's like, why do people have to put down college if they didn't do well at college? Why can't you just say, you know, college has great things about it. Not going to school has other opportunities. And so so that's the thing. See, I always change the subject there. So,
No, that's
but
okay.
it came up right with success. Success teaches you just as much as failure. And we can't have an idea in our head as a community that both success and failure are integral parts of life. And reading and writing and speaking and hearing are integral parts of their life. They're not separate. They're not mutually exclusive. Having a great education is not mutually exclusive to somebody who's self-educated. An external education versus internal education. And that's the thing that we run into with oppression all the time. Oh, they're oppressors. They're bad people. Or the people accidentally put in the oppressor role. Well, they're not good enough. They don't deserve to have rights. So instead of integrated or universal thought about the world. Okay, we got to wrap up. I have an appointment. So what do you want to say to wrap up today?
Well, again, as I was saying, and I apologize for talking over you, but again, you were
Never.
talking, and you talk about walking. And my statement, we all have heard it before. People have all have heard it. A journey of 1,000 miles again for a single step, and that's
Right.
that is. And we pick our steps, our directions. I mean, you know, the game we used to play as a kid was spin the bottle. You spin the bottle, and the bottle stop, or even turn around and you go around in circles. You end up in a direction sometime, and sometime it may not be the direction that we started out with. But I'm going to.
Yeah.
I see you got another certificate on your back wall that I have not seen.
Oh, let's see. My license, home occupation, my graduate degree. Those are the three up there right now. Mental health counselor. So I'm completely licensed now. So that's exciting.
I'm loving how I again, like I said, I know you got a place to go, and you and I can talk for hours, and we do sometimes.
We'll keep doing it.
I'm just so proud of you, man. And let's keep on doing this. And as the Bible said, on shopping's on, man. And I hope that we can do this for the next 20 years.
I hope so too.
It'd be nice that we can get some response from it. It'd be really nice. Are you broadcasting this? And you getting any response?
Yeah, I put it up on Facebook and on YouTube.
Are you getting any response? Because I'm not getting anything on my end.
Nah, you know, we'll just have to keep doing it.
Oh. Someone's, yeah. And if we do it for the next 20 years, and somewhere along the line, that someone can glean something from it that helps their life.
Right.
Great. If one person in 20 years.
Yeah, one person thinks a little better. Yeah. All right, man, I got to go.
All right, son. Love you, man.
Or sooner if you want to do twice. Love you too.
On you, my man. Bye now.